Caloroga Shark Media.
Hey there, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. I'm going to jump right in today. I've got a guest in the first half, then we'll take the break, and then I'll tell you a couple things on the comedy front. Andy Woodhull has a new album. It is called Beach Brain. It is his 7th comedy album, and here's my conversation with Andy. I was checking out your podcast, and I loved that you went all inside baseball on the recording of the album. You told a great story about working in crowd laughter. I'll lead you, but I'd love for you to tell that story to my audience, because I'm increasingly suspect of what I hear as laughs in Netflix specials. I've got an ear for it. Short story on me, I programmed SiriusXM comedy for 10 years, so I sat at a desk listening to comedy rounds.
Oh, yeah. Well, hey, thanks for playing me all those times.
I'll come back and we'll talk about that in a second. So for, 10 years, I'm sitting there all day listening to stuff. So I kind of know how audiences react. And
Yeah.
I will hear stuff on some of these Netflix specials, and I'm like, no. So could you just tell the anecdote that I'm sharing from your podcast?
Well, what I think you're talking about is I did a recording called Live from Elkhart, which you can find, and I only had one shot at it. Sometimes you have multiple shots, so if you don't get a joke right, you can pull it from the next set. But this one, I had one shot at it. So any mistakes I did, I would just say, hey, I made a mistake. I have to do that joke over. I hope you guys don't mind. And then, so I flubbed this joke. I said a wrong word here, a wrong word there, left something out. And then I did it right. And the audience clapped like I had just finished playing Freebird or something. It was an insane reaction. And then when we went to the editing, it doesn't make any sense that this joke is getting that level of laugh. So while I will swear, never on any of my comedy albums have I had them add laughs, that was a moment where I said, you have to take some of this laughing and clapping away, because it seems fake. It doesn't make sense.
Are you running into clapter with audiences? I feel like that's something that's crept into the last 10 years. There was one, I don't want to throw anybody on a bus, but I was watching one comedian who is fantastic, and he did this whole chunk, and the audience clapped, and I'm like, I don't think that's what you're supposed to do there, folks.
No, I don't get a lot of it, because I don't think that I am writing that type of joke. And if there's anyone that doesn't know what you mean by clapter, it's when a comedian will say something that the audience agrees with and they will clap. It's more right than it's funny. And it's, it engages audiences, and I don't know, I suppose has its place, but that's not what I attempt to deal in.
What made you decide to go with an audio album? I appreciate it, in the era of the Netflix special, the YouTube special, and I still program comedy radio for Live One. It is great to have, an old-fashioned album.
Sure. Well, it's not that. Let me give the most smart-sounding decision, I guess, rather than... Everyone is putting out specials. There's all these specials that look amazing. They're highly produced. There's $1 million budgets. I'm still basically a one-man operation, even though I did do this one with a comedy record label called Blonde Medicine that are fantastic, and they're putting out great comics, and you should check them out and listen to everyone whose album they produce. But $1 million production budget wasn't in the cards for me. So I thought, to set myself apart, I do something different. I do the audio album, which is how people have been finding my comedy for the whole time I've been doing comedy, is through things like Sirius and Pandora and Spotify. And as far as the video, it'll just be on YouTube, and it'll just be a straight shot to camera. I didn't want to go halfway. I could have spent a lot of my own money and had a higher production value, but it wouldn't look as good as a Netflix special. And so I decided it is what it is. This is a set at a club, and if you want to see me doing it, you can see me doing it on YouTube. But otherwise, it's audio.
It's so interesting to me that you say that as a comedian, because one of the things where you've been struggling with in podcasting is this whole, hey, you got to be on YouTube, you got to make a video podcast. And I've struggled with it,
Yeah,
because for my audience who are watching this on YouTube, this is what the show looks like. This is what me recording the podcast looks like. It's not very interesting. I'm 55 years old. I self-describe. I'm somewhere between Troll and George Clooney. You can pick. But, I'm not a sexy, hot chick in her 20s where everybody's gonna be like, oh, let me just randomly click on this thumbnail. It's a guy with
Sure.
a dumb backdrop talking and doing comedy headlines. So, I love that. I don't love, but I appreciate that you're going through the same kind of struggle of I can't keep up with the Netflix budget. Like I explain, and I also teach a college class. If I'm Andrew Schultz and I have a big time politician and I've got a couch set up and a 3 camera shoot and proper lighting and a PR team,
Yeah.
sure, video's awesome. But a guy in his basement, it's really hard.
Sure. Yeah. Low production is what YouTube was supposed to be. That's what I
Yeah,
think.
it was for a while. It
It's
sure
what
was
it
for a
was
while.
supposed to be, and now it's great, and those things are great. But now it's no longer as much do it yourself, unless you want to just watch someone's AI edited video, which I don't.
Yeah, yeah. For the album Beach Brain, I was intrigued by the cover. I'm a Beach Boys fan, and there's definitely whoever put it together, and maybe you, hopefully you, because it'll make a more interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Definitely went for that 1960s album cover vibe. The fonts are right, the colors are right. Where did the album cover come from?
Well, I'll take partial credit for the album cover. A lot of the credit goes towards the good folks over there at Blonde Medicine because this is the seventh time I've put out an album, and I have never had a photo of myself on the cover because I always felt like when the guy is on the cover of the comedy album, he's making a face like,
I hate
and I
those. Oh
didn't
my
know,
God, yes.
I didn't know, I never quite felt like what my face on a cover. So everyone I've done up until now has been an illustration, and I wanted to do an illustration again. And people at Blonde Medicine kind of pushed back a little bit, and they said, "We think you've never had your face on the cover of an album. I think it's time to put your face on the cover of an album, especially because things I've done in the past that have been really popular. I look much younger. I don't have a beard. People have a hard time even recognizing me from my own self from 10 years ago. So they convinced me to do that. So there was a photo shoot, which was uncomfortable because it's in public. It's not like you're in a studio because I wanted to do it at the beach. So people are taking photos. And I actually ran into this guy that it's just like a guy I casually say hi to walking my dog at the beach. And he saw the whole photo shoot and then asked me about it. It was incredibly embarrassing. And yeah, I don't know. I had the idea to sit on the beach. I wore the outfit because it's the outfit my wife bought for me. I agree that I think it has a cool like Beach Boys vibe, but I can't take credit for the outfit. I just get dressed by the woman that loves me at the time in my life, and I'm great with it. I like living that life, and so she gets the credit for the outfit. They get the credit for deciding to do a photo shoot, and I believe they also have a graphic designer in house that did the final design. But the photo on the beach with the beach stuff was my idea.
Is that Santa Monica?
It is Santa Monica, yeah.
I don't
Santa
know.
Monica.
So you just walk right over there to a photo shoot and go home?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I walked from our apartment to the beach. I did a photo shoot in public like I'm an Instagram model, and I was spotted by an acquaintance, and it was incredibly embarrassing. And yeah, anyone that's had to get their photo taken just knows it's a little embarrassing to have, your photographer, giant camera. They're inches away from your face. They always seem way closer than they need to be. And it's embarrassing in a studio. So I did mine publicly.
The thing that caught my eye, and you can make fun of me in the schoolyard, and I know you agreed to do this interview so that we could talk about the cover for 20 minutes. Oh, it is the Igloo cooler. And I
Oh,
have
yeah.
I have one of those in red, but mine is from 1976, and I know that because there's a bicentennial sticker on it that either my mom or I put on in 76. And as I was just thinking about this interview, I'm like, I'm hitting the beach with a 49-year-old cooler, but it works.
Yeah, it's a great cooler. I think my wife and I liked it because of that kind of retro design. And Easter egg on the album cover, that cooler is the first thing we ever bought together as a couple. We pitched in, I think, $20 each and bought that $40 cooler. And if you zoom in tight, there's a sticker of my older specials on the cooler.
Oh, nice. And you'll
Yeah,
get a half
little
century
little
out of it at
secret things
least.
there. Yeah, I hope so. I hope so.
So you talked about the royalties from digital play, which is a nice thing. I'll tell you a story. So when I first started at Sirius, the initial reaction from the comedians was, "You're stealing my material!" Da, 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 da. And
Yeah.
then people realized they were selling tickets off it. But then I was backstage with Ron White, who found out what I did for a living, and he was very happy to meet me because he had gotten a nice, significant check with, I think, at least five zeros in it. So that got rid of the
Wow.
whole
Yeah.
like, oh, you're stealing our. Well, that was because we had blue collar radio, so we were playing around
Uh-huh.
every 15
Yeah.
minutes. But that money's nice there. I wish more people would put out audio.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, I think, do people not always put out audio as well as video? I would think that every Netflix special has an audio version. Is that not correct?
So the Netflix thing is one of my pet peeves. So to get on the soapbox, I personally wish Grammys would go to audio things and not Netflix specials. I think we
Oh,
have the
yeah.
Emmys for a Netflix special. So what Netflix will often do is they'll take something like Chappelle and they'll put it on vinyl and they'll sell it in the cool record store in Portland. And
Hmm.
there's 100 copies of it, but technically it's an album. But
Yeah.
something if you wanted to get Dave Chappelle's most recent special on a CD to drive around in your car, that's not a thing anymore.
I don't know if you can get anywhere. I mean, even this one that I made that's audio only, I don't think you can get a CD anywhere.
Oh, we've lived so long. I don't have a CD player in the car or the computer. I've probably got one in the back closet somewhere, but I don't
I
even know how
sold
it works.
CDs for a little bit longer than I should have probably, because the reason I stopped selling them, because this is an easy thing to sell after the show, CD. And the amount of people that just want to tell me they didn't have a CD player got to an amount where I decided to stop selling them.
You don't want to embarrass yourself and be like, "Hey, I'll scan a QR code and it'll download 10 MP3
Yeah,
files."
and then I did that for a little while. I did
Did
that
you
for a little
really? Oh, it's
while.
just goofy.
I did do that for a while, and it wasn't that it was embarrassing. I felt that I wasn't giving people something. It was
Sure.
like a paper, and then I had like higher quality kind of plastic ones, but I still felt like, if someone wants to buy something after a show, they want something. And the QR code, although it gets you to the album and it works, and that's how people do things, because things like Spotify and Pandora and Sirius are so popular and those albums are available for free, especially, the streaming services like Spotify and Apple Music, where you can click and listen to it straight through whenever you want. I think you just weren't getting something when you did the QR codes, and I was sad to see the CDs go, because now I have to lug around bags of T-shirts to sell after shows and stuff.
You talked about your look changing over the years. Sometimes when I'm on the back end of stuff, I'll pull up a Nate Bargatze album, and I'm so used to him with the salt and pepper hair that
Oh
when
yeah.
when I see the younger version of him on an album cover, I'm like, oh yeah, that's what you look like. I mean, we all get older. You did one of his Nate Land showcases. How is
Yeah.
he? How was that? How's it working with that crew? They're really bringing it.
Yeah, they're very cool. I think they're doing a neat thing in comedy, because comedy has transitioned to this online model. I mean, still like Netflix and Hulu now and other streaming services will be putting out specials, and that's great. And people are finding comedy like that. But comedy used to be on Comedy Central and on late night TV spots. And that's where you would find new comedians. And Comedy Central used to always have a show that would showcase people you haven't heard of. I think there was Premium Blend, and then the one I did was called Live at Gotham, and I think there was one after that, like Adam Devine's House Party or something like that. And it was this cool place where you could see a little taste of someone you've never seen before, and that person didn't have to already have a million followers to be in that position. And that has gone away. The TV has gone away from that. And so I think the coolest thing that Bargatze is doing is through his own record label, production company, whatever. He has recreated that show where he's introducing the world to comedians that are funny and otherwise don't have a platform other than, the platform that we all have where we can put things on our own. But I think it's cool that he kind of picked up that ball, that premium blend Live at Gotham ball, and is rolling with it. And that's what Nateland is. And of course, it's a Bargatze product, so everything is squeaky clean over there too, if that's what you're into.
And I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm no prude. I like my share of the swear words, but I remember the first time I met Foxworthy, and this is we were putting together Blue Collar Radio, and he was explaining to me. He said, "I used to, work the same way as everybody else," and he held his hands like this, kind of close together, and he said, "And then I stopped cursing, and I picked up the kids and the grandmothers," and he stretched his arms, and that was his whole mindset. I think the art of working clean is if you don't notice it, you've nailed it.
I totally agree. I mean, I have been clean for several years now as far as my stand up, and I don't necessarily like advertising the shows as clean shows because I think that comes with kind of a stigma of boring. If you tell me, do you want to watch this clean comedian? I don't, but I will watch someone like Ryan Hamilton who is clean, and then it doesn't even hit you till somebody brings it up. Oh yeah, he didn't curse. Oh yeah, and that's what I hope people are saying after they listen to this new album or the last couple albums that I've made.
And I think there's an effect too if you're mostly clean and a well-placed swear word that can really just, punch a joke for effect. I think
Yeah, I totally agree with that too. It really, yeah, it's fun to have one curse in the set. Yeah, nobody's
yeah.
mad about one curse. You can curse once and people won't say that it was filthy.
I like your podcast. It's nice and easy on the ears. It appears to be an actual backyard and not a set because you guys
It
look
is.
cold.
It is, and we are cold sometimes. It's Tommy Johnigan's backyard, and it's comedians hanging out. We each bring different topics. We have some recurring segments, and honestly, my favorite thing about it is those are two of my best friends, Tommy and Alex Stone, and doing the podcast gives us a reason that we have to get together at least once a week, and it's pretty great.
Is everybody good about holding to the schedule? Because that's one of the pains of doing a podcast with somebody else is, oh, I'm not around. Well, that.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. There'll be times when people are busy and we'll have people fill in, or just two of us will do it when we can. But I would say for the most part, we're able to always get together, and we usually record on Sunday or Monday, and we usually don't decide until sometime Sunday afternoon when it's going to be.
About 2 weeks ago, you did that Rhode Island festival, Rhodey, I think it was called. I
Oh yeah,
forget now.
Lil Rhodey Comedy Festival there in
That
Rhode
looked like it
Island.
was
Yeah.
awesome. How was that?
It was very cool. They put together such a very cool festival, and it was great for the comics. My only regret is that I couldn't go for the whole thing. I was just kind of in and out. I was only able to make it on the day for my show, and then I left the next day. But yeah, they put together an amazing thing, and it is just so fun to be involved in something with people that care about comedy and love comedy, because I do. I love stand up. I love doing stand up. I feel so lucky to get to be doing stand up, and sometimes you do a show and it's all about how many tickets did you sell, what's that, blah blah blah. I don't know who even knows what I'm saying, and these people just genuinely love stand up, and you can tell that by how they put the shows together and how they treated the comedians.
At a festival where you have more time, do you go see other people's shows, or is it more about hanging with the gang at
Yeah, for
the
sure. I
bar?
love to do. Yeah, because someone, we've been doing comedy for a long time. So, any given festival, you're gonna know some people, be friends with some people. There's gonna be some people that you will become friends with if you have a chance to hang out with them. And there's usually hangs after the shows or like events during the day, and plenty of time for people to get together that are often on the road, and just ships passing in the night, I guess. You'll be at a club and you look at the poster like, oh, this month they're having three people that I love. I wish that I could say hi to them, but you're just not at the same place at the same time. Everybody's got their favorite work friends, and when you're a comedian, they're usually spread across the entire country on any given night. So when you have a chance for people to be in the same place, it is special. It's very fun.
How are you feeding the beast these days on social media? Not burning material? Are you doing crowd work, or how you handling that nightmare?
I will do, I mean, I do crowd work in my act, but it is not set. It is not like, and now I'm getting my crowd work clip. I have, it's organic and I don't always tape the sets. I wish that I did because I often will have a moment where I think, oh my God, that was the most amazing moment. That would be such a good clip, but I didn't record it. And then I have to convince myself that it is my integrity of the art form that leads me to not record everything and to let some things live in the only place that they will ever be seen at that show in that moment. It's integrity. It's not laziness. That's how I feel about it. I don't worry about burning material, not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. I have this new special Beach Brain. I'm going to put a clip of every joke that's on it on the internet, on Reels, on TikTok. Every single part of it will be a clip. At some point, I think I'll probably repost them. It's a numbers game. I think I'm not the first person to have this point of view, I don't think, but I think Louis C.K. years and years ago invented the I have to throw out this hour, I'm doing a new hour. And I think it makes sense if you are that level of famous, where when you put something online, 20 million people see it. But for me, for a lot of people that are forcing themselves and making a big deal of not burning material, I think you can put jokes on the internet. Whoever sees it is going to see it. And then if they come to the show and they see you do the joke, I don't think anyone's going to be furious and demand their money back. In fact, more often than people telling me, I already heard that joke on the internet, which has been never, people will complain that I didn't do their favorite joke that they saw on the internet.
Are you running into helpful audience members who want to be the crowd work partner?
And no, I'm not.
Oh,
No,
that's good.
no more than before. I mean, there's always a rowdy audience member from time to time. And as far as yeah, I know you're talking about like some comedians are saying these crowd work people are ruining comedy audiences because now comedy audiences want to be a part of the show and are trying to be a part of the show. And that's something I haven't found to be true. I think people still genuinely do not really want to be talked to during the show. They want to hear jokes and laugh. It's the reason why it's hardest to seat the front row at every comedy club because they don't want to be talked to.
There was just a big thing in the UK in a theater, a pretty big comedian had to throw out two people from the same show because they would not stop interrupting, and he had to go
Wow.
full stop and get security. I mean, it's got to be hard to get the room back after that.
Yes, yes, that would be. I mean, the one thing that is good is that in the situations I've been in where people had to be kicked out, they were such a disturbance that by the time they do kick them out, the thing that's not hard about recovering is people are happy because if someone's getting kicked out of my show, it's not because they piss me off and I'm like, get this person out of here. If someone is kicked out of my show, they are being such a disruption to the other people that paid. The venue is like, we need to remove these people or else 20 people are going to complain. So often when someone is escorted out, there will be a huge round of applause and the comedian will be like, yeah, aren't you glad those jerks are gone? And the show rolls on.
What's coming up for you in the next couple months? What can we look forward to?
Well, I am on the road for forever. I got lots of shows coming up. You can see them all at andywoodhull.com. Please watch the new special, Beach Brain, on YouTube or listen to it wherever you want. The difference between, I should say this, the difference between the YouTube version and the difference between the audio version is the audio version is edited because things need to live and make sense as single jokes, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So when you edit a special together, I take any crowd work that happened out for the audio version. I take out mistakes. I take out this and that little things. And I thought a fun way to do the YouTube, which would maybe hopefully set this apart from other people posting on YouTube, is I don't take any of that stuff out. So it's like 7 minutes difference in time, the audio version and the YouTube version, of mistakes and references and crowd work and natural organic moments that only happen when you see live comedy. That's on the YouTube thing. That's not in the album version because you program serious. There's not going to be a track of guy drops his glass. That's a
Right.
waste, for anyone that wasn't there. That's not additive to the show. So,
Also, pro tip for all comedians putting out audio albums, make your tracks about 4.5 to 5 minutes long. Those 90-second tracks, we don't schedule those.
oh, that is great tips that you could be giving out. All those things that I have been told. Yeah, 4 to 5 minutes. What else? I think comedians listening would love to hear that because I've been lucky enough to have gotten these tips from people like you, or maybe even directly from you through a third person of what you need to be thinking about when you're editing stuff together in hopes of getting play on Sirius.
So yeah, so you want, as you alluded to, you want each track to be a complete chunk's not the right word, but you know what I'm saying, a complete thought. So a
Yeah.
beginning and an ending to the individual track. Like I said, the 90-second, they're too short. The anything over 7 is too long because you want to keep things moving.
Hmm.
Having a clean version definitely helps. That was the thing when I first took over. Programming the clean channel was way harder than the naughty channel
Yeah.
because there just wasn't the material, and the stuff that was there was lame or Squad comedians that it just didn't have the coolness factor. So we
Uh
wound up playing a lot of Newhart and Cosby, and then the Cosby library
huh.
became something that you didn't want to touch anymore. So if you've got a clean version of something, that's very valuable. And
Somebody told me once when I was recording albums, because I've always skewed clean, and there would be like one or two just, adult jokes on the album, maybe one or two curses, especially on my older albums. And, it was somebody in a position like yours that told me, think about doing it all clean. And you wouldn't have to make a big difference because we get like 10 to 1 submissions for the dirty channels versus the clean channels. Was it still about that
oh,
ratio, or is that totally off?
I think I wish it were 10 to 1. I mean,
Oh
like
yeah.
if you put out a clean album, or if Nate puts out a clean album, or Gaffigan puts out something that's clean. He has kind of at least on his album work, he cursed a little more on his early work, but I think the last few have been straight clean. That is just gold. Like,
Hmm.
A-listers I can immediately schedule. That's exactly what you want.
No, it's interesting.
Last question from me. Who's out there that might be off the audience's radar? Funny people that we should know about?
Um, well, I don't know if they're off people's radar or not, but I always list my friends. Pat McGann is doing great. You can see him if you've seen Sebastian Maniscalco in the last couple of years. You probably saw Pat McGann opening for
Yep.
him. He's so funny. I have a friend, Mike Cronin, who's very funny. That's opening for me this weekend. Check him out. He's doing a YouTube series right now about making one last push to become successful as a comedian, just like one last shot at it, which I think is pretty compelling, and I'm jealous I didn't think of it. And I think hands down the funniest comedian that I've never seen not kill that people maybe don't know about is a guy named Kevin Bozeman out of Chicago, and he just is lights out funny. You got to see his live show. He always kills. He always kills, no matter the situation. And yeah, that's the guy I always say. You want me to name a comedian you should check out that's not famous? Check out Kevin Bozeman.
Super awesome. I'm glad we got to catch up today. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, John. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And I don't want to ignore the final night of the Moontower Comedy Festival. If I counted correctly, they have 39 shows on their website. I won't mention them all. We'll talk about headliners and some that catch my eye. Zarna Garg, 4 o'clock show at the Paramount Theater. That might even be too early for me. I mean, I like to go to bed early, but would be done at 5:30. Big J. Okerson special screening at the State Theater, also at 4 o'clock today. What is this? Clicks on the link to read. I assume this is a special screening of his upcoming crowdwork special, Them, They, because that's what the cover art says, and apparently Them, They is out tomorrow on YouTube. You learn something new every day. Industry types might like the panel Who Books That at 5 p.m. You're invited to join us for a panel tailored to address the burning questions comedians often ponder. We've assembled a dream team of industry experts. It does not tell us who these industry experts are. John Cavalcani's back at 5:15. James Austin Johnson at the State Theater at 7. David Nihill listed as a headliner. Shelf Help Thompson Theater at 7. The Moontower All-Stars are Sahib Singh, Austin Nesso, and Amy Miller at 7 o'clock at Cap City. Friend of the show, John Marco, 7:15, Creek in the Cave. Big J working hard today at 8:15. He's at Vulcan doing an evening of crowd work. Pete Holmes, he's fantastic. If you've never seen Pete, go see Pete live. There's an opportunity if you can make it to Austin by 9:30 p.m. He's at the Paramount Theater doing the PG-13 tour. Janine Garofalo, haven't seen her do comedy in a long time. Stand-up comedy, that is. 9:30 at the Thompson Theater. That's pretty cool. And a bunch of other shows to round out the festival. And now I get to delete the tab and get back some real estate on my Safari browser. And that is your comedy news for today. Hope you enjoyed Andy. Again, his album is called Beach Brain, and it's streaming, and there's an audio version, and I will see you here tomorrow.